The Abu Ghraib scandal broke on 28 of April 2004 when photos taken by US soldiers at the prison were revealed on CBS News. The photos released from Abu Ghraib prison in 2004 showing humiliated, naked men leashed like dogs, electrocuted, beaten, piled in pyramids with smiling military service members, laughing and giving a thumbs up over their bodies, gave a first public glimpse into a secret sprawling torture apparatus from Afghanistan to Cuba. When the scandal broke, senior officials painted Abu Ghraib as a singular incident, the work of a few bad apples. President George W. Bush told the press, "We do not torture." Even when word of the CIA's secret prison network came to light, Bush and his defense secretary continued to double down on their Geneva Convention violations. More photographs of Abu Ghraib were eventually released more than a decade after the scandal first became public. An American Civil Liberties Union lawsuit forced the Pentagon to hand over more evidence of the abuses suffered by Iraqis. The additional 198 photos selected to be released were the most innocuous of the 2,000 that were being withheld. In one image, naked detainees with bags over their heads are piled on top of each other in a grotesque human pyramid. An American soldier, Sabrina Harman, leans over them from behind, grinning. Her smiling colleague, Charles Grenner, gives a thumbs up. One photograph shows the corpse of a prisoner, Manadal al-Jamadi, who had been held there by the CIA. Manadal al-Jamadi died during an interrogation. His head had been covered with a plastic bag, and he was shackled in a crucifixion-like pose that inhibited his ability to breathe. Abu Ghraib prison was a maximum security prison in the town of Abu Ghraib, Iraq. It was opened in the 1950s and became notorious for torture and extrajudicial killing. The prison was used by Saddam Hussein to hold political prisoners and later by the United States to hold Iraqi prisoners. The prison was reopened by the US military in August 2003. The prison was the site of massive torture. According to a 2004 report by the Red Cross, approximately 70 to 90% of the prisoners were mistakenly detained. During the early stages of the Iraq War, members of the United States Army and the CIA committed a series of human rights violations and war crimes against detainees in the Abu Ghraib prison in Iraq, including physical abuse, sexual humiliation, both physical and sexual torture, rape, as well as the killing of Manadal al-Jamadi and the desecration of his body. At the height of the scandal, the prison held as many as 3,800 detainees. Most of the detainees lived in tents in the prison yards. The abuses took place inside the prison in cell block 1A and 1B. 11 US soldiers were convicted of crimes relating to the Abu Ghraib scandal. 7 of those were from Maryland-based 372nd Military Police Company. A number of other service members were not charged but reprimanded. This is Sivat. He was assigned to work at Abu Ghraib, where he filled in as a mechanic and a driver. Sivat described the events that he witnessed at the prison. One evening in November 2003, he helped a guard known as Freddy to escort detainees to Tier 1A, a cell block for dangerous prisoners. After they got there, they saw naked prisoners lying in a hallway, jumbled together. Charles Grenner, Lundy, England, and other soldiers were standing around, laughing. Frederick and Sieverts placed their men onto the heap. Everybody was like, "Well, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that?" Sieverts says, "It just happens and happens. You lose track of time, and it's like you are in a big warp." Sieverts was sentenced to a year in a prison for dereliction of duty, for counts related to taking a picture and failing to stop the mistreatment of detainees. This is Hassan. He was a prisoner of Abu Ghraib. Hassan was arrested in November 2003 and taken through various detention sites under US custody, hooded and bound. Hassan was stripped naked, kept standing and hooded, and restrained for endless hours, over almost 2 months. He reported being kicked, beaten, deprived of food, and locked naked in complete isolation for most of his imprisonment. Many years have passed since I got out of Abu Ghraib prison, and today and tomorrow as yesterday. The name Abu Ghraib still raises many things in the soul: horror, fear and anxiety. Hassan said, "Even now, my children ask me about the details, but I can't tell them for two reasons. The first is that the story is painful for me, and the second is that I don't want my children to suffer because of me." The prison was handed over to Iraqi authorities in 2006, and 8 years later, the place was closed down. But its horrendous legacy lives on.